memories that aren't what you remember, a haunted hospital that scares the police, and your hero is here, and he's a rat. All this and more tonight.
Get comfortable. Turn off the lights. It's Monthly Spooky.
Hello and welcome. It's that time of the month. It's time for Monthly Spooky. I'm, of course, your host, Enrique Couto, here with my good buddy, Michelle Antisocial. And we're going to talk all about the spooky news that's been going on over the last month or so. Chell, how are you?
I guess I'm okay.
I was not told there would be a test.
Yeah, I don't really know what I'm supposed to say to that.
That's okay, Chell. That's okay. Well, first question for you. Is it hot enough for you?
I mean, I don't know. It could be a little bit hotter, I guess.
Well, I know in my part of Ohio, we're having like a full-blown heat wave.
Mm-hmm.
And we're toward the height of the wave.
Yeah.
And I think where you are is just a little below. Not much, but just a little out of the main heat wave.
No,
So you're still getting like the 90s.
We're in a heat wave, but we're kind of towards the beginning-ish of it. Like it's been, low 90s, but I think, and 68 overnight. So that's been kind of okay. Yeah. But coming up, we're going to hit high 90s and it's going to be like 77 overnight. So here we go. Which was
literally like yesterday here.
Yeah.
Our heat wave is supposed to end on Sunday. All of a sudden the high will be like 83.
Oh, wow. I don't know when we're going back.
Maybe never.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible that hell just opened up and decided to swallow Philadelphia and surrounding areas?
I mean, sure. I guess that makes sense, right?
You're like, hey, whatever. The politicians will probably be better.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it has been very, very warm here in Ohio, and I've been enjoying the air conditioning as much as I can. Sorry, Chell. I know you don't have central air. Yeah. It is wonderful. I mean, if it makes you feel any better, you're not paying like $275 a month to pay off the HVAC.
Oh, that's true. I'm not. But I am hot sometimes.
I will say this time of year.
Upstairs.
Oh gosh, I can't even imagine upstairs. I don't even have it upstairs. I'm a ranch house, so
yeah.
I imagine it gets very warm up there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a thermometer up there, but it's gonna be in the 90s, I'm sure, eventually up there. So,
jeez,
considering
how do you sleep when it's that
down
hot?
Here? Oh well, I have window AC, so I can put that on.
Oh, so you put that on like when you sleep?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's insanity to me, but good for you.
I guess.
I've been spoiled. Central air has definitely spoiled me. I can't pretend it isn't. In fact, this is really the only time of year that I'm not like grumpy that I had to buy a new HVAC because the AC just handles it perfectly. And I'm like, I love having an HVAC that's not even 2 years old. Like, yay.
Lucky.
I'm sorry. I'm sure you, I don't know how that would work. How they would put an AC in your house.
Well, I could get like a mini split. But that costs many thousands of dollars. So I cannot do that.
Yeah, to get a good one?
Really, to get any one and connect it through my house with multiple units? Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, it would cost a lot. Well, I still like you, even if you're on the verge of melting.
That's okay.
Well, what's your week been like, man? Or what's your month been like? We haven't talked. I mean, you and I have talked quite a bit because I've been watching Banana Fish, but we won't
No,
get into
don't
that.
Tell people.
Chell's been turning me on to a new anime. It's she's so embarrassed.
I thought we weren't going to talk about it.
Well, not in detail. I just was going to say that I've been watching Banana Fish because you begged me to watch Banana Fish.
Yeah.
Oh man, the shame is so thick on your face.
I'm so ashamed.
Well, we weren't going to go into detail on Banana Fish because it's not spooky.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it is something I've been viewing. I've been watching Banana Fish. But I'm so over caffeinated right now. I'm ready to just go Tasmanian devil.
Well, that's good, I guess.
Well, I this week I've already drank too much caffeine, accidentally for the first time ever accidentally scheduled a Weekly Spooky to publish a day early by just total accident.
Right.
Yeah. A show dropped on Tuesday. Nobody said anything, so I'm guessing, and the listenership was the same, so I'm guessing people just went, "Oh, hey, there it is," and clicked on it. But I was like actually worried. I was like, "Oh no!" Yeah. Like, I actually debated recording another episode and releasing it the next day just so that it didn't feel off. But then I opted to take a nap instead. I'm a little overworked right now. I think obvious by the fact that I messed up the math on that episode.
Yeah. At least it wasn't late like my comics have been, because I forget that it's Thursday.
Well, I've only published one episode of Weekly Spooky a day late. And that was when I had COVID. And to be honest, I should have just not recorded the episode at all, because I listened back to it a year later and I sound like death. I like it's really unpleasant to listen to.
Yeah. I'm sure it's fine.
That's all I get is a yeah. So, Chell, you want to know what the topic of this month is?
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want to know, I could just keep it a secret.
No, I guess you could tell me.
We're going to talk about false memories.
Wow.
Yeah. We're going to do a little deep dive into the concept of false memories, which includes things like the Mandela effect and stuff like that, because human memory is malleable.
It is, and I'm scared of it a lot. Very scared.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you have an example of why you fear that concept?
I don't like the idea that probably when you think about things in the past, when you have memories, that you mess them up. So I don't like that. So I don't like to think about things.
Haven't you ever heard that saying? You know, the past is just a story we tell ourselves.
Yes.
And you hate it?
Yes.
Well, that's why you could just carry a notepad and just write everything down.
But then even then I misinterpret things years later, you know?
I mean, that sounds like a you problem at that point.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that will be our topic, and we'll dive into it a little bit as we always do. But first, though, we need to dive in to the spooky news, and we'll be doing that. You're so happy about it. But we'll be doing that right after these quick words. And we are back. Chell, do you want to do the honors? Do you want to introduce it?
It? Oh, do you want you? It's like when we talk about news stories and stuff.
It has a specific name.
The news. That's.
Oh, all right, fine. It's time for the spooky news.
Oh.
The spooky news.
So this story was actually sent in by Rachel Rodolfi, my co-host on Cutting Deep into Horror, another show here at Weekly Spooky, although we haven't done an episode in a little while. We plan to get back into that saddle soon. But this story is very poignant to her interests. It's from NPR, and the headline is, "Dear Rat, did you ever know you're my hero?"
That does sound like something rats. She'd like. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Rachel loves her rats. But yeah, this article is about heroic rats.
Okay.
Daniel is on a mission. Somewhere in the rubble and debris that surrounded him inside this wrecked building in central Tanzania, a survivor is trapped. Daniel is determined to find him. He navigates the wreckage like a pro, just as he's been taught during his long months of search and rescue training. Moving methodically from room to room, he peers into dark corners obscured by debris and scans behind what's left of the furniture. The job isn't easy, and for his life-saving work, he's paid in peanuts. But that doesn't bother him. Daniel is, after all, a rat, and peanuts just happen to be his favorite food.
Yay.
You want to let me show you the rat.
Okay. Aww.
He's a big boy.
And looks like oh, I see. It kind of looks like he's on a pole, but he's not. That's his tail. Okay.
Yeah, that's just a very long tail.
Wow. Aww.
He's cute.
Yeah.
I don't know about our listeners, but I think rats are cute.
Yeah.
Daniel is one of a cohort of elite, quote, rescue rats, currently enrolled at the Apopo Training Center in the Tanzania town of Morogoro. Since the early 2000s, Apopo's African giant pouched rats have been using their acute sense of smell to sniff out landmines and detect tuberculosis in sputum samples.
Cool.
I'm assuming that's what TB stands for, and this is tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Now they look set to become search and rescue specialists as well. How would you feel, Chell, if you were like lost in a building or something that had collapsed and then a rat came to save you?
Like super happy, I think.
Would you think it would would it be that it had a little backpack on? You'd be like, oh, you're a rescue rat and not a waiting for me to die to eat me rat.
Yeah, I mean, my first thought would be like, okay, just hold on until I'm dead, please.
The rat's just sitting there cleaning itself, licking its chops. You're like,
yeah,
not yet.
Like, can you
soon?
Please.
I promise.
Yeah.
These rats, though, they wear little backpacks. They're so cute.
Mm-hmm. So you do know right away that it is either really fashionable or coming to rescue you.
Or the rat beat up the real rescue rat and stole its clothes so it could fool you.
Oh no.
The rat's just like, hey, I'm here to save you. Let me into your mouth. And you're like, how will that rescue me? It's like, there's no time. And you're like, okay, fine. Starts eating you from the inside of your mouth.
That's mean. It should just eat my eyes first, like it's supposed to.
I think that's cats. Cats eat eyeballs first.
I think most animals eat eyeballs first because they're soft and easy to eat.
Oh.
Now you know.
How would you know?
Because they've told me.
Cats have?
No, all the animals, not just cats.
When you go into the woods and commune with nature,
no,
you put your arms out, the birds and stuff land on your arms and they all lean over to your ear and go, we eat eyeballs first. And you're like, the beauty of nature.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit more threatening than that because they're like, we're going to eat your eyeballs. But basically.
And then you're like, oh no. And they're like, not now, but soon.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Oh, that's a problem for future Michelle to
worry
about. I'm all good. Oh my gosh. Today's operation is a training exercise. The, quote, survivor is, in fact, one of Daniel's trainers, and the disaster zone has been carefully constructed to simulate a building struck by an earthquake or tsunami. It takes Daniel just 2 minutes to locate his target, a man in blue coveralls slumped against a wall. Huh. I wonder, like, that they must just be trained to smell for people. I mean, I would assume, because I just can't imagine a rat being like, blue overalls. Okay, got it.
You never know.
How fashionable. It's like, oh, great, the rat's judgmental, too. It's like, nice overalls, pal. And you're like, what? And it's like, I'm here to save you. And you're like, oh, thank God. Okay. And the rat's like, from your fashion crimes.
Yeah. It's a whole different thing.
And then you're like, I'd be mad, but that backpack's really looks good on you. So never mind. You're fine, Daniel the rat. Here's another shot of him for you, Chell.
Aww.
He's so cute.
Yeah. What is in the backpack?
That I'm assuming it's probably like a beacon.
Okay.
That would make sense to me. That way, because the rat would probably find you and then it would be your job to, I would assume, press a button or something. and that would signal that the rat found someone alive, and then people would dig to you.
I guess that would make sense. Yeah.
Because I imagine if a person was stuck in rubble, I mean, the biggest struggle would be knowing where to start digging. Because you could just dig it all up, but that could take days, and people are trapped. And
yeah,
this is reminding me how much I don't ever want to get stuck in rubble.
Yeah, me too.
I know most people they like that. That's like a vacation for them, but me, no. No, I don't want to be trapped in rubble.
Yeah, I've never been one of those people who really likes that.
Who's just really into rubble.
Yeah.
I'm going to say rubble until it stops making sense. When you oversay a word too much, it just starts to sound weird. Rubble.
Yeah.
Rubble.
I don't know if it's going to work since we're waiting for it.
Rubble?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, fine. Daniel stands on his hind legs and uses his front paws to pull a switch attached to his custom-made rescue vest.
Now we know.
Sending a signal to his handlers outside the building that he has successfully completed his mission. Then he retraces his steps through the rubble and exits through a hole in the wall.
So it's he's like, hey, bye forever.
Hey, how's it going? I'm a rat. All right, bye. Gotta go get my peanuts. Quote, in search and rescue operations, every minute counts, but canine units can't penetrate inside the debris, and camera probes and robots can only penetrate to an extent, says Danielle Glangrasso, a behavioral research scientist and the head of a Popo's rescue rat program. Quote, the idea is to have rats that can go in and use their sense of smell to conduct a guided search within the debris. They're small, they're agile, and they're very curious. So the goal is for them to complement existing search strategies. Okay, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it really does. And rats are smart.
I mean, obviously, because he found someone and he pressed the button on his backpack. So.
Yeah, that part blows my mind. Did it really say he pressed it?
That's what it said, unless you did.
Yeah, it says uses his front paws to pull a switch attached to his custom-made rescue vest.
Yeah, so, I mean, this sounds like a really good idea.
Also, the humble brag that it's custom-made.
Yeah.
This isn't off the rack, baby. I'm a rat with class.
Yeah.
African giant pouched rats are particularly well suited for the task, measuring up to 3 feet long from nose to the tip of the tail. And weighing up to 9 pounds.
That's so big.
Right? That's a chunky boy. That's a chunk fella.
Yeah.
Not quite a oh God, oh Lord, here he come, but still pretty big. They have the stamina to search over wide areas without becoming fatigued, yet are still small and agile enough to navigate cramped spaces. Unlike dogs, they're easily transferable between handlers, and they have a far longer lifespan than other types of rats. That is a really good point. You can't just pass dogs around like crazy. They're very loyal.
Right. Right.
So, but a rat, well, I mean, that's why we call people who tell the police what you did a rat. You know, they're loyal to whoever's got the peanuts.
Yeah.
I can respect that. That's very, I can respect that. After a year in training, they can have a working career for around 7 years.
Wow.
Well, so African giant pouched rats live a very long time. Because most rats, you're lucky to get 3 years that I know of. Then they live out their days in comfortable retirement at Apopo's training complex in Morogoro.
So how long do they live then?
Well, don't ask questions you don't want answers to.
Oh,
how long do African pouch rats live? African pouch rats can live up to 7 years in captivity, but some have been known to live as 8 years. Okay, so I mean, they probably not going to be more than a year in retirement.
Yeah, so they just work them till they basically are ready to die, and then they.
I mean, that's what we do too.
Yeah, I know.
But you say that, but look how cute.
Aww.
It's a little juvenile rat drinking some stuff out of a syringe.
Yeah, it's.
I like how the rat's
cute.
little hands are on it. He's like, "Give it." No, I got it. Oh, rats!
Cute.
Thanks to Rachel, I am in a Facebook group called "This Ratto is Fatto."
Yeah,
and it's just where people share pictures of big fat rats, and It's the perfect name for the group because, like, when I see a big fat rat, my first thought is, man, that ratto is fatto. Like, the complex sits on the grounds of an agricultural university in a compound hemmed in by lush trees. During a recent visit, monkeys leaped from branch to branch, occasionally careening over the building's tin rooftops, while Apopo's roughly 300 rats went about their business. A group of juvenile mine detection rats scoured a rectangle of earth in search of capsules containing TNT.
Oh.
Yeah. I do want to mention, by the way, thinking of rats, though, that would be the perfect retirement, though. They would spend all that time with their handlers and then just go back to where all the young rats are learning. Because rats are so social.
Mm-hmm.
It would be good for them to be surrounded by, like, the younger rats.
Yeah.
You want to just stop this show right now and go to Africa and work with the Apopos?
Sure. I think this would be fun. They seem nice.
I'm going to get you a rat. I think that's what you're missing.
No.
Why are you so adamant?
Because I have a cat.
You can teach the cat not to. Well, first of all, if it's a 3-foot long rat, I think Gigs would just have to accept that that's not going to be eaten.
Yeah. But I can't have any more animals.
By law?
Yeah, they said no.
Who's they?
I don't know. These people came and they just said you can't do this anymore. And they didn't explain what, but I'm pretty sure it meant have more animals.
I like that that's what you assumed they meant too.
Well, I don't know what else. I wasn't doing anything else.
Oh, it's about to get really cute.
Okay.
Nearby, several older rats, now retired, snoozed in clay pots in their cages. Others enjoyed scheduled recreation time in a series of custom-built play enclosures. And in a garage behind the car park, the youngest rats, at just a few weeks old, rummaged through the grimy contents of a workbench during a socialization session designed to habituate them to the world of humans.
This all sounds pretty nice.
Yeah. The training is reward-based. When a rat correctly identifies its target, be it a buried landmine, a positive TB sample, a human being, or an illegal wildlife product, it signals to its handler, who uses a clicker to let them know when they've been successful. The rat is then rewarded with a treat, usually a banana avocado smoothie or a handful of peanuts.
Wow.
I want a banana avocado smoothie.
Me too, kinda, sort of.
I feel like that should have been offered before we sat down.
Yeah.
Welcome to Monthly Spooky. Would you like your banana avocado smoothie now or afterward? I don't know why he's British. Each year, Apopo's giant rats go through some 25,000 bananas and 6,200 avocados and just over a ton of peanuts.
Wow.
I mean, same. Apopo isn't the only organization training rats, but it claims to be the only one whose rats are already working, and it is certainly the first to attempt to train them in search and rescue.
Cool.
How do you think it would go if they tried to teach cats to, like, search and rescue for people?
I
think the cat would be like, "I'm here to save you," and you'd be like, "Oh, great," and you'd pet it and you'd be like, "I didn't like how you pet me. Never mind," and just leave you to die.
I think you could train like one cat one time, and then if you trained others, they'd go like, they'd find someone and then they just lay on their chest. And they're like, this isn't helpful.
For rescue rat handlers, it's been a learning experience. Quote, "They're so clever," says Gian Grasso. "You always have to stay 5 steps ahead of them, and there are so many different things to consider. The team has to constantly reconfigure the rats' training areas so they can't simply operate from memory. To make it more realistic, they incorporate the sounds of drilling or machinery. They use different actors to play the survivor, so the rats learn that any human is a target, not just those of a particular ethnicity, age, or gender."
Yeah, we don't want them to get, biased.
Apparently, I remember when we first trained Henwolf to do tricks, she would memorize the order of the tricks. So I'd have her bark, and then I'd have her sit, and then I'd have her lay down and crawl. And she would just start doing them automatically. So I had to keep changing the order every time so that she didn't just memorize it. So I'd be like, "Sit," and she'd sit, and then she'd bark, and I'm like, "I didn't tell you to do that yet. You like, now lay down." And she'd be like, "What the hell? I just want a snacks." Like, Their animals can be very smart. They've had to teach the rats to discriminate between the smell of humans and human-associated objects, like clothes and shoes.
Wow.
And they carry out distractor training to teach them to ignore tempting smells and stay focused.
Cool.
No easy task amid the sensory overload of a destroyed building. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does, because rats would, smell lots of other food options and stuff. So you have to make it really clear, like, no, I bet you, because you think about the banana avocado smoothie sounds so weird. It must just like be their favorite goddamn thing, because they're making it clear, like, whatever's in that tunnel you're in, you don't get the banana avocado smoothie if you get that.
So my only question then is, like, what if it's a banana avocado plant or a peanut plant, like, that has collapsed? I'm
assuming there aren't a lot of those in Tanzania or wherever, which I don't even know where that is.
Is it
I
Tanzania?
thought that was Tanzania. Thank you. Is that in Africa?
I believe so.
Yeah, East Africa. Okay, I thought so, but I started to question myself.
Yeah.
Quote, we need to know if they're really going to stay motivated for the target or if they're just going to go and have a great time in some collapsed kitchen, says Giangrasso. Producing the perfect rescue rat isn't only about training. Like humans, each rat has its own personality, its own strengths and weaknesses. Ideally, the team wants individuals that are active and curious enough to make effective searchers, yet disciplined enough to stay on target and return when called.
Yeah.
To this end, the trainers have been collaborating with researchers from the University of Bristol in the United Kingdom to better understand the personalities and preferences of their rats.
Okay.
I've spent a decent amount of time around rats, and they're totally right. Like, they have personalities, very, very much.
Sure.
And definitely some are smarter than others. Like, I've definitely petted rats where I was like, oh my God, you're amazing. And I've petted rats where I'm like, you're pretty cool, but like, you ain't saving nobody from a building. You're kind of dummy. Like dogs, some dogs are like scary smart and other dogs are just big goofballs. Or cats, like some are like vicious killers and others are just aloof killers. Exactly.
Yeah.
Some cats are just like, if you died, that would be fine. I will not be doing anything about it. A lot of people view a rat as just a rat, says Giangrasso, who, like most of Apopo's trainers and researchers, has their own personal favorite among her students. But there are a lot of personality differences. There are some rats who just search in a different way, who seem to be more dialed in and seem to be more methodical in their thinking. For me, that rat is Daniel.
Aww.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This picture of him, he's got the big backpack on. Look at him.
Aww. I wish I was. You wish you were a big rat? Like that. I wish I was cool.
Like we'll get you a backpack. We'll get you a backpack, buddy. Daniel is now in the final stages of his training program in Tanzania. Later this summer, he and 5 of his colleagues will fly to Turkey, a hotspot of tectonic activity, where they'll join up with a local search and rescue group for advanced training and trials. Cool. If all goes well, Apopo trainers hope the rats could soon be ready for deployment in real disaster zones.
Cool.
In the meantime, the organization is collaborating with researchers in the Netherlands to produce a miniature communications backpack for the rats to wear. Quote, after proving the rats were able to find people, we thought, what if we could also get images and sound of the building? Says Sadi Mashana, a research supervisor for Apopo. It's like we're adding technology to the rat. I mean, I think it's exactly what you're doing.
That's it. That's what's happening.
The team recently started testing the latest prototype, weighing just over 3 ounces. The backpack contains only a tiny camera that will send a live stream to rescuers outside the rubble and a 2-way microphone to enable them to communicate with the survivors.
That's really cool.
That's really smart. We're constantly refining existing areas of operation, says Mashana, who has seen the organization expand rapidly since he began working there 15 years ago.
Wow.
Quote, and also constantly trying to find new ways for rats to save lives.
Yeah.
That sounds like such a great thing if you're in an organization, and such a clear sign of insanity if you were just a homeless person. Yeah, for the last 15 years, I've constantly been trying to find new ways for rats to save lives. And you're like, okay, here's $1. Please don't follow me.
I don't know. If somebody told me that, if a homeless guy would just tell me about rats saving lives, I'd be like, okay, man, what are we, like, explain this to me. Like, I want to know about your rats.
I want in, man. I want in.
Let's do it right now. Save lives.
We'll finish up the story and dive into even more spooky news right after these quick words. And we are back talking about rescue rats.
Yeah.
Since conducting their first landmine detection tests in Mozambique in 2003, Apopo's rats have helped find over 160,000 mines and other explosives.
Wow.
That's an incredible number.
Yeah.
And its TB detection rats have screened more than 500,000 patients.
Wow. And it works? They didn't just screen them?
It doesn't say that. It didn't say that, but we'll assume. The organization is also in the final stages of a product to help Tanzanian port authorities find smuggled wildlife products such as ivory and pangolin scales.
Wow.
And has been in discussion with a U.S. oil company looking to use rats to identify soil contamination for environmental cleanup operations.
We're going to have lots of rats everywhere. I mean, we already do, but...
That was the perfect one. I mean, Rachel, who sent us this, she would be very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So, people think of us as a rat university, says Christoph Cox, Apopo CEO and co-founder. Quote, we're always getting more requests. Can you do this? Can you do that? How much do they cost? When can they start? But it's not like we've got them lined up on shelves ready to be shipped off.
Yeah.
The requests are varied. A Dutch NGO recently got in touch to ask if the rats could detect underground water leakages.
Cool.
You need a rat for your home inspection business.
I do.
That would be perfect.
Yeah. It would be good, like, if there are, like, little places that I can't get into, I just be like, just go. Be free. And then it comes back and I give it some peanuts and everything's good.
An avocado banana smoothie.
Yeah.
Wait, so as a home inspector, if you had a rat that could help you home inspect, what would you have it do? Like, what would you have it trained to detect or find that would be most useful?
Maybe we could do can it smell like electrical wires melting? Because that would be really cool.
I bet you could teach it to smell the smell of like plastic melting or whatever, the smell of the wires burning, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Then we would
know. So that's
know.
what you would want him for?
That, and like we could have him be like a mold rat. He just finds the mold. Or an asbestos rat.
When you said, I just imagined a rat made of mold and a rat made of asbestos, which is not what you were talking about.
I don't want an asbestos rat, but a rat made of mold might be kind of cool.
Ew. Sure.
Yeah.
A national customs agency wanted to know if they could sniff out shark fins.
Oh. On
Makes
sharks
sense.
Or not on sharks?
I would assume not on sharks, but maybe on sharks as well.
Yeah.
Others want to use the rats for detecting salmonella, brucellosis, a disease that mainly affects livestock, and cancers of various kinds. I have heard about cancer sniffing dogs and cancer sniffing rats and stuff. One American organization wanted to know if they could assist with finding decomposing bodies.
I would assume so, yes.
It would make sense. The simple answer is almost always yes. Rats, says Cox, can be trained to identify virtually any smell, but setting up each new program is a major undertaking, and there's only so much one small nonprofit can manage. Funding is often an issue, as are the logistical difficulties of securing the vast number of samples needed to train the rats. Another challenge is the general public's negative perception of rats. As one staff member put it, quote, we're cognizant that not everybody loves rats as much as we do.
Aww.
Well, you'll wait. Right after that sentence, they put a picture of just a pile of baby rats.
Aww.
They're so cute.
They're really cute.
I feel bad. I know there's at least one listener out there who just rats are just their absolute terror. And they're just like, oh God, why are they talking about rats for 20 minutes? Rats can provide a useful screening service at airports, Cox says, but he doubts airline passengers would tolerate their bags being sniffed by the rodents. In the context of search and rescue operations, the team has pondered what effect it could have on an already traumatized survivor trapped beneath rubble when they're approached by a giant rat wearing a backpack. I'd be thrilled as long as he had the backpack on. Yeah, be like, oh, sweet. Okay, this is good news.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, we still have to work on people's conception of rats and how they just view them as dirty sewer animals, says Giangrasso, who nevertheless hopes that in the future, rapid reaction search and rescue rat units could become as normalized and accepted as their canine counterparts. Quote, we see search and rescue dogs as normal. We don't usually bat an eye about that, she says. It would be nice for rats to be recognized in the same way. I think we'll get there. It's just a matter of time.
Yay.
So Chell, what have you learned today?
That there's an organization and they have rats.
that rats exist?
Yeah. There are these really large rats in Africa and they have pouches, maybe. I'm not really sure. That wasn't explained.
I mean, it's in their name, but that doesn't, who knows if that's a major part of it. Well, at the very least, they're cute.
Yeah.
So that helps. So this next article, can you guess where it's from?
Mirror.co.uk.
You would be right, Chell.
Oh.
Our international source for the most bizarre news stories, often involving ghosts. This article honestly makes me think of a lot more questions than answers. The headline is, talking to ghosts is special and can be good for you, claims top psychologist.
What?
I mean, I think I was pretty clear. Grieving. Oh gosh, this is getting dark off the top.
Man.
Grieving is a highly personal experience that can affect people differently, and some turn to psychic mediums to try and contact lost loved ones. Of course, I would argue that going to a medium to contact lost loved ones could cause more harm than good.
Sure.
But that's just me, and maybe I'm crazy. But top psychologist Dr. Callum Cooper said being in contact with those beyond the grave is, quote, a special experience that can give people comfort. Some celebrities have admitted to using mediums and getting regular readings, but Dr. Cooper said the use of mediums should only last for a limited period of time after losing a loved one.
It's kind of like, I don't know, going to a psychologist or getting allergy shots. It shouldn't just keep going forever.
My buddy George Robb, he often has this joke he says about psychic mediums where he's like, isn't it fascinating how it's never, when you go to a psychic medium, it's never, okay, I have your Uncle George here with me right now. He's burning in hell and he blames you. Like, that never happens.
Maybe they're not allowed to come back from hell.
Well, but then they always manage to come up with the goods.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, you'd think once in a while it'd be a negative experience, but no, it's always they're looking down, they love you, they miss you, but they're in no pain. They're happy where they are. What
if mediums were real, but they were lying still, and like all they see is like hellfire and death and people like screaming, and they're looking down on you and they're really happy.
I think I'd be angrier.
Yeah, that would probably be bad.
I think that's worse.
They're just trying to comfort people because it's going to be really bad the rest of their existence.
Well, I hear that defense, not about psychic mediums seeing hellfire all around us, but I hear that defense all the time about psychic mediums, like they're bringing closure to the bereaved, and it's like, well, no, they're lying to them.
Yeah.
It's not. I found that much like people like Houdini, who realized he had a serious problem with psychics, that came after his mother passed away. Because then all of a sudden he was like, no, I know what the pain of grief is, and I'm really mad that you're trying to benefit from it.
Yeah.
And I totally get that. Like, I get that. So to me, that's like the most despicable thing. It's that a psychic medium can do if they're a fraud. And I do believe that they are frauds or crazy people. I do. I don't believe that there's a real psychic medium. I think they're either a fraud or they like actually believe it's real, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like one of the things that drives me crazy is it's like, well, then they're just giving you new memories of your loved one, which is not cool, man, because all you have are your memories.
Yeah.
And as we'll find out later in the show, most of them are false. So the expert said, quote, if you're really suffering from a loss that much, do it. It's a special experience that's given me something special that tells me I don't need to worry. They're around me. They're supporting me. This person is watching over me beyond death.
Okay.
Like even in the bathtub.
Yeah, I always get worried about that stuff.
When I was a really young kid and I was still like believed in like a general concept of like Christianity, I guess. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Cause I grew up Pentecostal sort of. I mean, like I wasn't really pressured into being it. It was just like what I was until I wasn't.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
It's just like I started out believing the stuff that I grew up around.
Yeah.
And I used to, as a very young kid, I used to like sit on the toilet and just wonder, like, is my great grandpa watching me poo right now? Like, is that what's happening right now?
Yeah.
And you know, and when you ask a priest, all they do is tell you to leave. You know, maybe if I'd asked when I was a child instead of in my 30s, they would have been a little more receptive to it. Instead of just like, hey, Father, good to see you. Good to see you. So are my loved ones just watching me like drop a deuce daily?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hopefully daily. I mean, I'm getting a little older, but I still eat fiber. I'm trying to like, you know, stay regular. And the priest is like, why are you still talking, my child? Please stop. Dr. Cooper of the University of Northampton warned people should not become dependent on mediums. He added, eventually you have got to cope with your own bereavement. You shouldn't be going beyond 12 months. But why not? I mean, if they're really connecting you with your deceased loved one, shouldn't you like, you know, just cut a rug and like talk all the time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'd think so. Yeah. Like once a month, you just talk to your parents or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, just get a Ouija board, save yourself some money.
Mm.
People should also be wary of anyone hashing out generic tales, the senior lecturer said. He added, quote, if they're talking to the dead, they should be coming out with information that is specific to you. Okay, so now he's saying, but beware cold readers.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Good luck. Well, they're all cold readers.
Maybe you're wrong, and this one that he went to is real.
I mean, you know, I won't deny that it could happen. I'll only say that so far it has not.
Yeah.
As far as I am aware. Some of the most common symptoms of grieving include shock and numbness, sadness, tiredness or exhaustion, anger, and guilt. Mm-hmm. The NHS explains these feelings may not be there all the time, and powerful feelings may appear unexpectedly. So of those, how many of those are you suffering from regularly?
Guilt?
You got shock, numbness, sadness, tiredness, exhaustion, anger, and guilt.
It's just guilt and sadness. The other ones, okay. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of the time.
That's good. That's good, I think.
What about you?
Oh, I don't want to talk about it. Okay. I managed to pull off almost all of them. No numbness though.
Yeah.
Unless you count like when I got that really bad frostbite on my thigh in February.
Oh yeah.
That was a lot of numbness.
Yeah.
It pretty much feels normal now.
Good.
It feels it feels like totally normal.
Okay.
I just scratched both sides of my thigh and I realized they feel the same.
Okay.
I think just the fact that I've been thinking about how my thigh feels is unusual.
Yeah.
Anyway, I frostbit the side of my thigh.
Wow.
I don't even know how that happened. I mean, I know it happened because I worked outside for a really long time, but like, I don't know how only that part of my body, like I was bundled up. I was wearing long underwear and jeans.
It's really weird.
I don't know, man. I just don't know. Let's see. Help is available through bereavement support organizations such as Cruise, For a second, I thought it said curse because it's CRUSE. I was like, curse. Don't name it that. As well as psychological support to anyone needing it. And you can also find free mental well-being audio guides online. For most people, grief will become less intense over time, but for some, it can last many months or years. This is known as prolonged grief disorder or complicated grief. Symptoms include very difficult feelings such as sadness or guilt for over 6 months, spending a lot of time thinking about the person who's died, difficulty accepting the death, not being able to return to everyday activities, and suicidal thoughts.
Yep.
What, no funny commentary? Go on, Chell, make it funny.
No.
Okay, fine. The NHS says you are more likely to have prolonged grief disorder if the death was traumatic or sudden and unexpected. Seeing a GP is recommended if you experience any symptoms of prolonged grief disorder. Northamptonshire-based author and podcaster Shelley F. Knight, author of Good Grief, the A to Z approach to modern-day grief healing. I like it as a modern-day grief healing. It's like, this ain't your daddy's grief healing, which, by the way, I'm so sorry you lost him. We'll help you get past that. Quote, a lot of what happens to us in life and what we're exposed to can help how we cope with death and loss. If we have a lot of positive talk and openness around life and loss, then we can grieve more openly and heal quicker.
Sure.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you gotta bring things out to the sunlight.
Yeah.
She added, in the past, when people were ill or dying, they were nursed within the home. But over time, through medical advancements and innovations, it became very clinical and detached. We go into the hospital for medication and to be artificially ventilated. So almost have clinical death over natural. So most have it.
Okay.
Mirror.co.uk.
Yeah.
So most have clinical death over natural death. But when we're not regularly exposed to something, we start to develop this fear or awkwardness, even though death remains the only certainty in our life. Thanks, pal.
Jeez.
Only certainty. They forgot taxes.
I think you could just not pay your taxes.
Avoiding taxes and avoiding death, I feel, are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, well, that was thanks, Mirror.co.uk.
That was like barely about the supernatural at all.
No, it was really just about grief and death.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll have even more spooky news just for you. And we are back with even more spooky news. This story from your favorite place of all time, Chell, NPR.
Yay!
National Public Radio. The headline is, The Shocking Tactic Electric Fish Use to Collectively Sense the World.
Oh.
I feel like it's been a while since we had a good aquatic story.
Yeah.
Some of the most memorable monthly spookies we've ever done were the insane immigrant guy who wanted to run across the ocean in an inflatable ball. Remember that?
Yeah.
I like that one because I predicted he was foreign, and we didn't find out till the absolute end of it that he was foreign.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, this got to be a foreign guy. It just screams like foreign. That was one of my favorites. And then, of course, there was the one about sharks mistaking your feet for fish.
Mm-hmm.
That sounded oddly like it was written by sharks who really want you to put your feet in the water.
Yeah.
So this one is all about electric eels and electric fish, which was the name of my band in high school, Electric Fish.
Oh, I thought it was electric eels and electric fish.
No. That was the other band in school. We were always fighting because they stole half our name and said they stole half of their name from us. They stole all of our name and then only used it in half, which is even more disrespectful.
Yeah.
When you think about it. Neuroscientist Nathan Sawtell has spent a lot of time studying a funky-looking electric fish characterized by its long nose. Now, funky-looking electric fish, that should have been the name of our band.
Yeah, definitely.
The Nathomius petersii, or elephant nose fish, can send and decipher weak electric signals, which Sawtell hopes will help neuroscientists better understand how the brain pieces together information about the outside world.
Huh.
And this fish looks weird. He looks cool, though.
Good, I guess.
Oh, I was going to show you, but I can't. There we go.
Oh, he does have a long nose, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of a long nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen bigger, I've seen smaller, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But as Sawtelle studied these electric critters, he noticed a pattern he couldn't explain. The fish tend to organize themselves in a very particular orientation. Quote, there would be a group of subordinates in a particular configuration at one end of the tank, and then a dominant fish at the other end. The dominant fish would swim in and break up the group, and they would scatter. A few seconds later, the group would coalesce, and it would stay there for hours at a time in this stationary configuration. Sawtelle, who runs a lab at Columbia University's Zuckerman Institute, said. Initially, Sawtelle and his team couldn't put together why the fish were always hanging out in this configuration. Quote, what could they really be talking to each other about all of this time? That's a legitimate question. It just sounds weird that somebody's thinking about fish like that. What are they talking about? Are they talking about me?
They're talking
They're
talking about him. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what my greatest fear would be.
Yeah.
A new study released this week in Nature by Sawtelle and colleagues at Columbia University could have one potential answer. The fish are creating an electrical network that is larger than any field an individual fish can muster alone. In this collective field, the whole school of fish get instantaneous information on changes in the water around them, like approaching predators.
Oh.
I mean, they could be communicating.
So they're just hanging out on the internet all day.
Yeah, they're just hanging out on like Reddit, basically, on Electric Fish Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
I want a t-shirt of Electric Fish Reddit. Rather than being confused by the flurry of electric signals from other fish, these fish were clever enough to exploit the pulses of group members to sense their environment, Sawtelle says. The question remains whether elephant-nosed fish intentionally spread out to maximize their sensory range, or if they simply make the most of each other's positioning. While orienting themselves in the most efficient pattern would be difficult, Sawtelle says this could be possible. So he's trying to figure out if they're fully aware that their own positioning will give them a better view.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question.
I mean, I would think yes. I would think that there's some trial and error there, and then they get to a spot where they're like, oh, this works, and then they hang out on the internet or something.
On the information super fish way. I'm sorry I said that. Quote, how cooperative it is and whether they're really organizing their collective behavior in a high level way, we don't know, he says. But again, these are very brainy fish.
Huh.
I remember the first time a little old lady at the grocery store said, you're a very brainy fish. It made me happy for weeks.
Aww.
Right?
Yeah.
What a nice old lady. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That's the worst.
No, nobody thought I was very smart, so I understand.
I don't think that's true. I bet they thought you were a smart kid.
Yeah, just not a fish or something?
Oh. Yeah. I mean, could you swim?
Yes.
Lucky.
Yeah, sorry.
I was too busy drowning to swim. That was my childhood.
Yeah. It was.
I only drowned twice.
That's not that bad.
No. Maybe it is, actually.
I mean, it's not good, but you could have drowned more than twice.
That's true. Or just the one.
Yeah, just that one time.
Just really thoroughly.
Yeah.
I think about that sometimes, believe me. Oh, I mean, the one time my dad was right there because he's the one who pushed me in the water. And then the other time was in a public pool when a bully pushed me in the water.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would have drowned like fully. I think somebody would have done something because it was like I wasn't alone or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But good times. This next article, we're heading right back to mirror.co.uk. This headline says, man explores abandoned hospital, even police don't enter. But it takes a chilling turn.
Oh.
I mean, why would police need to go into
an abandoned
hospital?
And why would anybody these places are probably not structurally sound. So I would recommend police didn't go in too.
Well, and I mean, don't they only go into places if there's like a suspecting crime? Like, I don't think they just go in for the hell of it.
Well, I mean, yeah, abandoned places are kind of cool, though.
It's like, these cops won't go into this coffee shop. I don't drink coffee, so I have no reason to go in there. What are they hiding? An urban explorer investigating spooky goings-on in a deserted 18th century mansion. It said hospital, but it also says mansion.
It's confused.
Says the building is so creepy that even police don't dare enter. Ghost hunter Moxley says a police van stopped to see what was going on as he was entering the now abandoned Meanwood Park Hospital in Leeds. They didn't hang around. Quote, the police have pulled up outside. They saw me standing there while I was doing the drone footage, he explained. It was clear to Moxley that they had no enthusiasm for following him into the sinister-looking former hospital. He didn't even come over... Quote, he didn't even come over to ask what we were doing. He literally just sat there and then drove off, he continued. They may have had a good reason. That just sounds like cops like trying to decide if you're breaking a law.
Yeah. I assume that means they just thought it wasn't worth it, you know?
Yeah, or that you weren't really doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
If anything, if they said nothing, they must have really thought the place was completely benign.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, even if you weren't trespassing, they'd be like, hey, be careful in that place. But since they didn't even say that, that makes me think that it's like not even dangerous inside.
Yeah.
So I pulled up a picture for you of like one shot of it.
It looks bad. That floor looks bad.
And it's fallen into disrepair in recent years.
Mm.
The now abandoned building was built in the 1760s and in 1919 was converted into a facility for men, women, and children with learning disabilities. Former inmates complained of a harsh regime with stern punishments for even minor transgressions. And many staff and inmates reported seeing the apparition of a mysterious gray lady on the mansion's grand staircase late at night. Moxley claimed he heard what sounded very like footsteps and perhaps the rustling of a woman's clothing as he ventured into the hall's crumbling interior. I want to know, what's the sound of a rustling of women's clothing, but not men's clothing? That's what I want to know. Like,
can you hear it?
I heard a rustling sound. Had to be a dress. Couldn't have been a cummerbund. Had to be a dress. Absolutely. Couldn't have been a polo shirt. Had to be a blouse. I'm positive of that.
I mean, maybe he's just really into clothes and he's like a designer and he knows exactly what women's clothing from the 1700s sounds like.
From a distance, too.
Yeah.
None of that leaning your ear against it shit. No. It's all the way over there. Moxley used an advanced smartphone app. Sorry. An advanced smartphone app.
Yeah. You know, not the regular ones. The advanced ones that you have to pay for, I assume.
I sure hope so. A smartphone app that had an array of sensors to convert signals from the local environment into speech. It told him there was, quote, evil everywhere as he ventured along one of the hall's numerous gloomy corridors. What smartphone app tells you there's evil everywhere?
So I think they're talking about like a spirit box where it's using the FM frequencies and stuff to try to make words. So I probably said evil everywhere.
Hey Siri, is there evil everywhere?
Yes, she doesn't even want to talk about it. It's so evil.
Actually, what it said was even funnier. Let me try that again. Is there evil everywhere? It says there is no one named Evil who shares their location with you in Find My App. Which means yes, there is evil everywhere.
Yeah.
That would have been funnier if she'd answered out loud. I don't know why she didn't. Probably too scared. At one point, oh my God, here's the app. The Spirit Talker app eerily told Moxley, quote, I am beside you, as he described an overwhelming sense of dread in one particular room. Let's look up the Spirit Talker app. How about that?
Okay.
Spirit Talker. Okay, there's two of them. Whoa. $3.99.
That's expensive for an app. I don't even pay for apps.
Average rating 3 stars.
Oh,
First rating, 3 stars from 1 year ago. Okay, so first off, I've noticed that when you turn it on, more than often it gives a name. When you're doing an investigation, this is one of the first questions you ask. Who are we talking to? This happens almost every time. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't work and it's a scam, but this I'd suspect to be. This is suspect to me. Also, the voice says the words should be able to be changed. I can't understand the creepy clown voice, so it's a good thing there are words. The EMF detector can be put directly up to an item which is known for EMF, and there is no reading. I'm using an iPhone 14 Pro, so the phone shouldn't be an issue. Just seems this app is only for entertainment and not actually functional. But there are other tools that can be used that are not novelty tools.
Yeah, you can't, your phone can't detect like that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Oh. This is the app he used because it actually shows I came from a dark place as one of the screen caps.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this app is free, but there are in-app purchases. This one has a 4.6 out of 5-star rating on average.
Wow. So it's real.
So it's real.
Yeah.
At one point, the Spirit Talker app, the disembodied voice said to dig in one particular location, and someone else appeared to have given the same instruction before as a hole had been dug in one wall. It suggested that something or someone was under the floorboards, but the floorboards aren't particularly sound anymore, and the presence seemed to warn him about that the planking is about to give way beneath his feet.
Okay, I'm confused.
Me too. There's the mansion hospital.
It's nice.
His friend, who was exploring a different part of the rambling mansion, turned with his own reports of creepy experiences. Quote, "There's definitely something inside residing, haunting the place," Moxley added. It's not clear why the police chose not to investigate the 2 men with torches entering the creepy abandoned mansion, although in the UK, being an urban explorer is not illegal in most circumstances.
Well, that's probably why.
For non-British listeners, torches means flashlights, by the way. That always throws me when they're like, I gotta light the torch, turn on the torch. Trespass is not a criminal offense, and it's rare for a landowner to go to all of the hassle and expense of private legal action. Trespassing isn't a criminal offense in the UK?
I guess not.
Let's
go to the UK. I want to go in some places.
We're going to trespass the hell out of this place.
Yeah.
Normally, police will only attend reports of trespassing if there is suspicion of criminal activity, such as breaking doors and locks or theft.
Okay.
So they went into a creepy abandoned place and used an app. Using an app is the part that kills me. Like, if you're going to be a ghost hunter, a ghost explorer, like, you don't have stuff, you have just an app that's supposed to do a bunch of specialized things.
Yeah.
Like, for the record, your phone, no matter how nice your cell phone is, I have a very decent iPhone 14 Pro Max. Mm-hmm. It has a microphone, it has cameras, and it has a gyroscope so that it can tell when it's being moved, right? Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be able to report on anything that isn't related to those 3 things.
It can't even tell you temperature readings.
No.
They're not that smart. I mean, they are, but they're not smart like that. Oh.
You work with AI all day long. You should know better than to insult them.
Oh, no, well, we do insult them, and then we see what they do.
Like a good scientist, abusing whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with even more of the spooky news. We're back, and we have another piece of spooky news from Huffington Post. But before I dive into this, Chell, I know you're not... Like, most people are horribly, and by most people I mean me, addicted to ordering things on the internet.
Uh-huh.
You do order things on the internet, I'm sure.
Yes.
But it's not like how often would you say you receive a package?
I don't know.
Is it like monthly? Maybe a few times a month? Tops?
Maybe once a month or twice a month or something.
Okay. See, which sounds a little less than normal, but but not like obscenely less. Like, if you were like, I don't know, maybe every 3 months, I'd be like, that's weird. You're not real. Like, take off the mask. You're clearly a giant train rat. But
Yay, finally.
But so when you get packages, what level, not just now, but like in your life, have you ever lived somewhere where you were really afraid your package would get snatched?
Yes, because that had before.
Really?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Was that when you lived in West Philly, or where was that?
No, actually, when I lived in West Philly, I lost a package, but it turned out it just went to a neighbor's house, and I got it 6 months later when they finally brought it over. But no, when I lived in my last house in Lansdowne.
Oh yeah, Lansdowne.
Yeah, I had I bought off of like, I don't know, Amazon or eBay or something. I bought a refurbished cell phone because I'm dumb and I didn't realize I could just buy one that's new that's for the same price.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything.
It was a long time ago, and also it ended up having serious issues, and its little processor like exploded eventually. But but besides that, I paid for it. I think it probably was eBay because it was somewhere like I just couldn't get my money back.
Yeah.
And it just never came, but it said it was delivered, and I'm 100% sure that somebody stole it. After that, I stopped getting packages to my house. So,
would you have them sent to like? Where'd you have them sent to like your mom or something?
Well, most of the time it was just like from Amazon, so I just go to an Amazon locker and pick it up. Yeah,
which you had like 2 years before we did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the Amazon locker thing that's still kind of new here.
Now I have one at my Rite Aid. I could walk to it.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I don't need it, but still.
I have not had the closest thing to a porch pirate I've ever had was I saw someone come up to my patio and just take something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, because it was on my Ring camera. Because I do you have a camera on your front of your house?
We don't want people to know that I don't have a camera on front of my house.
So yes, you do.
Yes.
Well, I freaked out for a second. I was like, oh my God, this woman's stealing my packages. And then I looked at the video again and I went, that is my next door neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at my Amazon account because it was an Amazon package she'd taken and nothing was delivered. And I was like, I guarantee that she got the delivery confirmation and saw my front door on the picture and just walked over and took it.
Mm-hmm.
Because one time they've had my package as well. Because one time in the middle of the night, I don't know, they must have worked late hours or something. Because one time at like 11 p.m., they just came over and dropped a package on my doorstep and then walked away. So anyway, that's the closest. I've never had anything stolen off of my, knocking on wood right now.
It's super nice to not have things stolen. Really nice.
But what if you had a porch pirate who was clever enough, would you just say, hey, you've earned it? Because this one fascinates me. Porch pirate dresses up as trash bag to steal package worth $10.
Wow.
Hold on, I'll show you okay, let me pull. I'm going to show you the video, okay?
Okay.
If it plays. Let's see.
It's loading. Where's the commercial?
It's going to freeze on the commercial, I guarantee it. But it's just a person in a trash bag. And
It's a long commercial.
This is killing me. Yeah, it's a very long commercial. Oh gosh, it's a news report. Let me see if I can find the actual clip.
There he is.
Look.
Wow.
It's amazing. You can see sneakers sticking out of the bottom of the bag.
Yeah. Wow.
I like that the sensor tracking is not fooled at all. It's following him immediately.
Yeah.
But look at this. He just takes the package, slips it under the black trash bag.
I think if he was going to do a better job, he needs to like pause a bunch of times. Like, oh, I just moved slightly, but I really am a trash bag. Or like roll like he's a trash bag flowing in the wind or something.
It would have been, I wish he had like cheaped out and got clear trash bags. It's just a bag and you can see their face clearly.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to admit, A for effort, A for creativity. A homeowner in Sacramento, California had some items stolen from his porch, but he got a big laugh in return. Omar Gabriel Munoz checked his surveillance system on Friday and was shocked by what he saw. Someone hiding inside a trash bag, waddling up to his front step in order to steal a package.
Wow.
You see, quote, "You see the bag coming to my door," Munoz told Sacramento ABC affiliate KXTV. "At first, I thought they were messing with me." Munoz says he got a notification that a package of 2 phone chargers worth about $10 had been delivered. Man, that's some friggin' relatable content. Like, I've ordered a lot of phone chargers in my life.
Mm-hmm. And you usually need them. Like, I actually need to charge my phone right now.
I have so many phone chargers.
I do too.
It's obscene.
Yeah, I just are everywhere. I don't know.
I got to a point when I was traveling where I would get so mad that I would have to gather up all my chargers that I bought an entire set of chargers just for travel.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean for everything, for my laptop, for my AirPods, for my Apple Watch, for my phone. Just I have doubles of everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's but when he got home, there was no package, so he checked the security footage and saw the video of the trashy porch pirate. Quote, "At first, I was kind of angry, but when I saw the video again, I was laughing because people these days have a lot of creativity," Munoz said. So far, there are no suspects, but Munoz would love to meet the bagman and already knows what he'd say. Quote, "That was a good one," he said. You can... I would be like, "Oh my God, if I could just shake your hand and then cut it off, you thief." That would be me.
Yeah.
I'm very aggro about theft.
I know.
But I saw that one and I had to put it in the queue for the show. I was like, I cannot believe someone dressed as a garbage bag stole a package.
Yeah, no one's ever going to catch that person because they just look like a garbage bag. So
yeah, I would be paranoid everywhere I see a garbage bag.
Yeah, or like the police are like just trying to like arrest garbage bags all day.
It's like Jaws, just garbage bags are being abused and strung up everywhere you go. You got the wrong garbage bag. All right. To wrap up our spooky news, we've got one more from mirror.co.uk. This one does not disappoint as far as mirror.co.uk headlines go.
Oh.
The headline reads, "My kids ask about imaginary people. Now there's proof our house is haunted."
That sounds like them.
A woman has left social media divided after she claimed to have video evidence her house is haunted when her kids started asking about people in their rooms.
Oh.
Kayla Sampson recently went viral after she shared a clip of a fingerprint-activated door seeming to open on its own. The mom captured the incident on a Ring home security camera after a string of bizarre incidents around her home. She claimed it was the closest confrontation I have of the spirit world. Confirmation, sorry. The closest confirmation I have of the spirit world, end quote. However, not everyone is convinced, as some viewers believe there is a more plausible explanation. Well, if it's a door that like opens with a fingerprint, I feel like it's got electronics in it, and it probably... How do you feel about electronic locks? I have not been able to convince myself to do it.
No, I'm very scared of them because it just seems like there's going to be a problem eventually.
They'll be hacked
or break and let people in. It's going to be one of those.
Or break and not let you in.
Oh yeah, that too. But I mean, that's
annoying.
To me, that's the least bad because then it's like, okay, fine. I got to call a locksmith. They're going to charge me $700.
Well, the biggest thing keeping me from an electronic lock is they're very expensive. Because the last time I needed a new doorknob, I was like, maybe I'll get one of those electric doorknobs. I was like, $50 for a great doorknob or $120 for a base level electric one. I went with the $50 good doorknob. Yeah,
I think if I was going to get like an electric lock, it would have to be like a top of the line one, because I don't.
Look at you.
Yeah, I'm rich and I buy
What
things.
You mean is the only way you'd ever get one is if it was a gift.
Exactly. And I still probably wouldn't use it.
In the caption on the clip, which gained more than 400 likes, this is news now.
Nothing.
Something gets
That's
400
nothing.
likes.
Come on, man.
She added, quote, "This is my daughter's bedroom door. At the time of this video, my brother was visiting from overseas. This is around 2 a.m. The handle of this door is fingerprint access. From the outside, you have to put your finger on the sensor, and then when accepted, push the handle down like a normal indoor handle and enter. From the inside, it's free, no fingerprint needed, just like a normal door. So from this video, because the handle doesn't go down, it seems someone is opening it from the inside.
Oh.
Kayla added she found the sudden movement so odd and eerie, but it isn't the first time something unexplained has happened in this part of the house. The mum continued, quote, "It is at the end of a hallway that has always made me feel uncomfortable. As soon as you turn the landing and look down, you get that feeling someone is standing there."
Wow.
My oldest son had this bedroom first, and when he was very young, once asked me, quote, "Why those people stand in his room and stare at his walls?"
That's kind of upsetting.
Yeah, but also, like, it's a child. Like, you either take that seriously or don't.
Yeah.
If you take that seriously, you ain't gonna be just like, oh, well, I'll move another kid into that room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my daughter, now 4 years old, for a long time has asked me consistently about my sister, and just recently pointed out a picture of my mom and told me this is my sister that comes to her room. Mom had passed in 2015.
So, see, I don't think that's real, because how come she's saying sister then? How come she doesn't know the right person?
I mean, I would assume that the inference is that they look alike. And the picture that she knows of is like her grandma at a similar age to her own mother.
So, but the grandma isn't saying, "Hey, I'm your mom's mom."
No, I think she's just staring at the walls.
Oh, okay.
Which is weird.
That's kind of weird.
I mean, maybe they're really nice walls.
I mean, they might be.
You don't know. Quote, "She seemed fine with seeing my sister, but now she is afraid to sleep without the light on and insists a blanket blocks her view of the room, especially the cupboard area, because she, quote, doesn't want to see it, but I don't know what it is."
And I've never asked.
And I've never thought to ask. Facebook viewers were left divided over the clip, as some did agree the house could be haunted. One user said, "Wow, you're haunted. I mean, as long as they don't harm, and if you could tell them they're not allowed to scare your kids, all should be okay."
Yeah.
I'm going to show you the video, Chell.
Okay.
I think maybe. It's playing. It just, nothing's. Oh, see the doors opening?
Uh-huh. Okay, I understand.
Is that's all it does. It just cracks open. That's the entire video.
So, I mean,
that.
Two things could be happening, or more than that. A ghost could be in there, or the door could not have closed all the way.
Yeah. And then, well, it makes me think of, my garage door, the door that goes from the garage to the house, not the big garage door, but like a regular door.
Yeah.
The interior garage door. Sometimes it doesn't latch.
Yep.
It just doesn't latch. And if I open the front door, it pops open. Like air pressure.
Of the change in pressure. Yeah. Yeah, that's the same thing with my basement door, from my house into my basement. It doesn't latch completely all the time. It doesn't pop open, but gigs can open it because it doesn't latch. So
yeah.
That's why it's got a thing in front of it.
I don't know. Probably just ghosts.
Yeah, probably.
Quote, "I live in an apartment, and the old lady who lived here before us liked to open and close cabinets and drawers in the kitchen at night. I told her it's okay, but we don't want to see her. We smell her a lot as she was a very heavy smoker."
Oh.
Must be awkward sitting down a ghost and being like, "Look, you smell and you scare my children.
You need to not be here, and you need to not be opening cabinets. I know you're trying to see things inside them, but you can't."
No. "I need you to banish yourself to the land of wind and ghosts."
Yes.
Another added, quote, "Whatever it may be, it's creepy." While a third commented, "That's freaky. This is news." But others argued there is a more reasonable explanation for it. A viewer wrote, quote, "This is called a door that wasn't fully closed and the pressure in the house caused it to open. No ghosts here." As a second person simply replied, "Draft." Well, I guess we were in a similar spot.
Yeah.
I love that the video's like 30 seconds long, but like in the first 3 seconds, the door just opens barely and then stays the rest of the video.
Maybe like they didn't know how to stop. Like they were just like, wait, maybe something else will happen. And it didn't. And then they were like, we don't know how to edit this video down. So here,
hell.
have it. Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll never know. But even if we did know, would we be able to remember it properly? I don't know.
No,
because when we get back from this quick break, we're going to dive into the concepts of false memory right here on Monthly Spooky after this. Michelle, do you remember the first time you killed a man?
No.
You don't?
No.
It's the kind of thing I feel like you wouldn't forget.
It's just not that big of a deal, I guess. Or either that or I blocked it out. I'm really not sure.
Well, false memories are an interesting thing. And I found an entire compendium of information about false memories on the most valid source of information all of the internet knows. It's called Wikipedia. Pedia? Pudia?
I feel like you're close. Oh.
Pedia? Wikipedia.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, do you have any moments where you've like just flat out had a memory that didn't happen? Or it was just very far away from what you remember?
So, no, but I have had conversations with, like my sister or something that we don't know which is the real version of events because our memories are so different, kind of.
Are they different in like a subtle way, or are they different in like an obvious way? Like, is it that your sister remembers it in a way that makes her look better than you, or vice versa? Like you remember it in a way that makes you look more heroic or altruistic, or is it more like just the details are just off?
I think the details are just off because it's not usually like, oh, do you remember that time I did this? And she's like, you mean when you almost killed me? I think it's more like, hey, do you remember when we went to the store and we did this? And she's like, I don't think we ever went to that store, kind of deal.
Oh.
You're probably thinking about somebody else.
Could be. One of my favorite memories that turned out to not be entirely accurate was for years I talked about how my stepdad, when I was growing up, had once, he had a friend at the mall that we used to hang out at the mall, and his friend worked at this store. And he was like this very hip black guy. And the reason I mentioned that was that he worked at like the hip black guy store at the mall, like, where they sold like the 90s fashions of the time that were popular with the black community. And I used to always talk about that story because my stepdad was Mexican and this gentleman was black. And my stepdad would like often teach me things about how it doesn't matter what color you are. Based on like conversations I would have with him and his friend at the mall. And one day I was sharing that memory with my mother, and my mother was like, that wasn't Rick's friend at the mall. That was your friend. You were like 5 and you were obsessed with this guy who worked at the mall. And every time you went to the mall, you'd be like, I want to go see that guy.
Aww.
So it wasn't, but my memory was like, well, it's got to be my stepdad's friend because he was an adult. But no, apparently I was the one who always wanted to go visit that dude.
Which is even cooler, honestly.
It definitely blew my mind. I was like, are you for real? Okay. But obviously childhood memories are the most easily falsified because there's a combination of the fact that you're very, very young. So you're not remembering everything perfectly because of just distance. And then there's the influence of the adults who may tell you back the same story. And that will also be painted by their things. I mean, it's like, and then there's other things like I shouldn't say this on the air, but like the circumstances of my birth are very different if I ask my mother and she's had a little tequila. If there's no tequila involved, then I was 100% planned. And if there's the littlest amount of tequila, then I was a surprise. I know I was a surprise. I'm not offended by it. I was raised in a loving household, so I don't feel like, so to me, like, I just chuckle when I hear that, like, I wasn't really expecting to get pregnant with you, but then I had you. I'm like, yeah, I know you never treated me like a mistake, so I don't feel like a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
But memories like that, that can be just an element of kind of coping with things and caring about people's feelings subconsciously.
Sure.
I actually think that when my mom is stone sober, which is most of the time, that she initially said that to protect my feelings, but now I think she really believes it to an extent. She really believes like, no, I wanted to have, because she did want to have a boy, just maybe not with my dad, who she barely knew at the time. So Chell just smiles, and my parents were married a long time. and I was the first one.
Yep. No, but that's interesting, because my parents, like the actual day of my birth, they have the exact same story of it. And it's interesting because both of them make my dad look bad. So,
well, that's what makes you know it's probably true.
Yeah, no.
Your dad makes himself look bad in his own memory.
Yeah, he didn't want to go to the hospital yet because he was watching a TV show.
Do you know what the show was?
I do, but I forgot. I don't remember right now. It's something that had a remake maybe 10 years ago or something. It's
will you tell me when you find out? Just text me when you remember.
Sure. Yeah.
Or when you ask him.
Yeah.
I really want to know. Well, let's dive into the phenomena of false memories. That way we can never remember it.
Yay.
Yeah. In psychology, a false memory is a phenomena where someone recalls something that did not actually happen, or recalls it differently from the way it actually happened. Suggestibility, activation of associated information, the incorporation of misinformation, and source of misattribution have been suggested to be several mechanisms underlying a variety of types of false memories. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a false memory I told you about just the other day. So on June 4th, which I call Independent Day.
Oh, right. Yeah, you did tell me.
Yeah. It's the day that I first no longer had a day job and decided to just lean into filmmaking and eventually podcasting and stuff like that. I remember that day as being like really somber, and that I was super depressed and super worried. But then I decided, like, I'm going to go for it. And then I ate a bucket of chicken and went to sleep. But in reality, the photo evidence is I ate a bucket of chicken at like 4 p.m. and then worked all night.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember myself dwelling way more than I actually dwelled.
Yeah.
Which is really strange.
Yeah.
I remember myself as more of a pansy than I actually was, I guess.
Yeah.
So now it's going to get deep, because we're going to go into the earliest work in psychology talking about false memories, which of course means we got to talk a little bit about Pierre Janet and Sigmund Freud.
Yay.
Yeah. You don't like Freud?
No.
Oh, it's probably because of your father. So Freud, Freud was fascinated with memory and all the ways it could be understood, used, and manipulated. Some claim that his studies have been quite influential in contemporary memory research, including the research into the field of false memory. Pierre Janet was a French neurologist, also credited with great contributions into memory research. Janet contributed to false memory through his ideas on disassociation and memory retrieval through hypnosis. And there's been a lot, I don't know if this will dive into it too deeply, but there's been a lot of research into hypnotic retrieval of memories, being basically planting memories into someone's mind.
Yeah, it's totally bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember watching like hypnotic regressions about UFO encounters. And the person who was doing the interview would say, was the vehicle similar to the ones we have on Earth? And then they'd say, yes. And it's like, okay, but by saying that, you're supposing that it is a vehicle not from Earth, thereby insinuating that they're seeing aliens.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're giving them information in your questions that's coloring how they answer the question.
Yeah.
And let's not even get into how pollsters do the same thing. It's fascinating how they'll literally ask two questions. They'll be like, would you give medical care to illegal immigrants? And somebody will be like, no. And then you ask them the same question. You go, would you refuse medical care to children simply because they're illegal immigrants? And they'd be like, no. Because when you use the word refuse, it sounds cruel. But when you use the word, you would not give it to them, it sounds like they're just being, they're just being less altruistic. It's just bizarre how pollsters will like fiddle you to get you to give them the answers they want.
Yeah.
In 1974, Elizabeth Loftus and John Palmer conducted a study to investigate the effects of language on the development of false memory. The experiment involved two separate studies. In the first study, 45 participants were randomly assigned to watch different videos of a car accident, in which separate videos had shown collisions at 20 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour, and 40 miles per hour. Afterwards, participants filled out a survey. The survey asked the question, about how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other? The question always asked the same thing, except the verb used to describe the collision varied.
Huh.
Rather than smashed, other verbs were used, including bumped, collided, hit, or contacted. Participants estimated all speeds to average between 35 to just below 40 miles per hour. If actual speed was the main factor in the estimate, it could be assumed that participants would have lower estimates for lower speed collisions. Instead, the word being used to describe the collision seemed to better predict the estimate in speed rather than the speed itself.
Yeah, I totally believe that.
I do too. That's literally what I was kind of talking about. Yeah, it's like the wording of the question affects the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I know at my like AI job, if like there was a project I was doing where you were comparing two different answers from two different AIs, and there was a section, and I still don't understand this, where it would say like, if you chose B, why did you choose B? But if you chose A, you don't have to say anything. And I would just like, am I not supposed to choose B? Like, is that a problem? So it totally messed up some of my answers.
Oh, good old AI.
Yeah.
A are you sure you don't mean C? Tell me where Sarah Connor is. The second experiment also showed participants a video of a car accident, but the phrasing of the follow-up questionnaire was critical in participant responses. 150 participants were randomly assigned to 3 conditions. Those in the first condition were asked the same question as the first study using the verb smashed. The second group was asked the same question as the first study, replacing smashed with hit. The final group was not asked about the speed of the crashed cars. The researchers then asked the participants if they had seen any broken glass, knowing that there was no broken glass in the video. The responses to this question had shown that the difference between whether broken glass was recalled or not heavily depended on the verb used.
Yeah, I'm thinking smashed, there's going to be broken glass.
Yeah. A larger sum of participants in the smashed group declared that there was indeed broken glass.
Yeah.
Look at Chell, you just threw like gang signs or something. You're like, oh yeah, I'm right. What up? What up? In this study, the first point brought up in discussion is that the words used to phrase a question can heavily influence the response given. Second, the study indicates that phrasing of a question can give expectations to previously ignored details and therefore a misconstruction of our memory recall. This indication supports false memory as an existing phenomena. And this study has been replicated many different ways, such as hockey games instead of car crashes, and shown that different scenarios require different framing effects to produce differing memories. Very strange. Let's see. Okay. Presuppositions and the misinformation effect. A presupposition is an implication through chosen language. If a person asked, what shade of blue was the wallet? The questioner, in translation, saying the wallet was blue, what shade was it? The question's phrasing provides the respondent with a supposed fact.
Right.
This presupposition creates one of two separate effects, true effect and false effect. In true effect, the implication was accurate. The wallet really was blue. That makes the respondent recall stronger, more readily available, and easier to extrapolate from. A respondent is more likely to remember a wallet as blue if the prompt said that it was blue than if the prompt did not say so.
Sure.
In false effect, the implication was actually false. The wallet was not blue, even though the question asked what shade of blue it was. This convinces the respondent of its truth, i.e. that the wallet was blue, which affects their memory. It can also alter responses to later questions to keep them consistent with the false implication. It's kind of like in court when they'll say they're leading the witness.
Yeah.
Because there's that old legal joke in the legal profession of like, how long did you beat your wife? It's like, well, now I don't have an answer that doesn't imply that I beat my wife.
Yeah.
Regardless of the effect being true or false, the respondent is attempting to conform to the supplied information because they assume it to be true. That's my favorite thing about scientists. They're like, so we got a bunch of people together and lied to them. And it turns out people don't like to be lied to. They just think you're telling the truth. Lying is great like that. Hashtag science. Loftus's meta-analysis on language manipulation studies suggested the misinformation effect taking hold on the recall process and products of the human memory. Even the smallest adjustment in a question, such as the article preceding the supposed memory, could alter responses. For example, having asked someone if they had seen the stop sign rather than a stop sign provided the respondent with a presupposition that there was a stop sign in the scene. Yeah. This presupposition increased the number of people responding that had indeed seen a stop sign. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Another trigger, one can trigger false memories by presenting subjects a continuous list of words. When subjects were presented with a second version of the list and asked if the words had appeared on the previous list, they found that the subjects did not recognize the list correctly.
Huh.
When the words on the two lists were semantically related to each other, e.g. sleep and bed, it was more likely that subjects did not remember the first list correctly and created false memories. So they don't remember that what they're asked.
Mm-hmm.
So they just remember being asked what color is the wallet, not what shade of blue is the wallet.
Mm-hmm.
In 1998, Kathleen McDermott and Henry Rodiger III conducted a similar experiment. Their goal was to intentionally trigger false memories through word lists. They presented subjects with lists to study, all containing a large number of words that were semantically related to another word that was not found on the list.
Okay.
For example, if the word that they were trying to trigger was river, the list would contain words such as flow, current, water, stream, bend, etc. They would then take the lists away and ask the subjects to recall words on the list. Almost every time the false memory was triggered, and the subjects would end up recalling the target word as part of the list when it never was there.
I kind of like, I'm not sure I feel about this because, I'm sure really what the memory was. I mean, I would think if I was doing this kind of, study thing and I was presented a list and then given another list, realistically, like I'm just not that good at remembering words on a page, but I'll probably remember that there was a watery thing. So I'll be like, oh, well, maybe it was that watery thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that's really a false memory so much as I don't really know for sure.
Plus, you're sitting here, you're like, this scientist is dressed so nicely. He's definitely not trying to make me look like an asshole.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with even more false memories. Or will we? Oh. No, we won't. And we are back digging deeper into that meat computer in all of our heads. So the next element is what's called rational processing. Memory retrieval has been associated with the brain's relational processing, and associating two events in reference to false memory, say tying a testimony to a prior event, there are verbatim and gist representations. Verbatim matches to individual occurrences, i.e., I do not like dogs because when I was 5, a chihuahua bit me, and gist matches to general references, i.e., I do not like dogs because they are mean, keeping in line with the fuzzy trace theory, which suggests false memories are stored in gist representations, which retrieves both true and false recall. Storbeck and Clore in 2005 wanted to see how change in mood affected the retrieval of false memories. After using the measure of a word association tool called the Dease-Rodiger-McDermott paradigm, or DRM, the subject's moods were manipulated. We stuck him with a needle and then asked him a question. Then we slapped him and then we asked him a question.
Then we gave him some candy and we asked him a question.
Science! Moods were either oriented towards being more positive, more negative, or left untouched. Mm-hmm. Findings suggested that a more negative mood made critical details stored in gist representations more accessible.
Okay.
So under stress, you're more likely to not remember the specifics.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're diving into an element of false memory that I find really fascinating, and the main thing I wanted to talk about, the Mandela effect.
Okay.
Have you suffered from the Mandela effect?
So, I'll just say, my memory is not good enough to suffer from the Mandela effect.
Really?
I mean, there's a lot of things I'm like, oh, I kind of feel like that might have happened. But then I'm like, I'm not that smart. I don't know that I ever really knew what was going on anyway. So
I can say wholeheartedly I suffer from the Mandela effect because I 1,000% remember the Berenstain Bears.
Yeah, it's super weird for me because like I don't both ways. I'm like, maybe. I don't know.
I absolutely remember them. I absolutely remember it being the Berenstain Bears. But it's the Berenstain Bears.
Which is a weirder last name, in my opinion.
Which I agree, but the author's last name was Berenstain.
Yeah.
So then it makes sense. Mm-hmm. You know, here I thought they were a nice group of Jewish bears. Mm-hmm. And apparently I was wrong. Specific false memories can sometimes be shared by a large group of people. Mm-hmm. This phenomenon, dubbed the Mandela effect by paranormal researcher Fiona Broom, who reported having vivid and detailed memories of news coverage of South African anti-apartheid leader Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s, despite Mandela actually dying in 2013, decades after his release and after serving as president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. Broom reported that hundreds of other people had written about having the same memory of Mandela's death, some while he was still alive, and she speculated that the phenomena could be evidence of parallel realities.
Yay!
Do you think it's parallel realities? Do you think that you're in like the a different world where the Berenstain Bears just didn't matter?
Maybe. I liked that subreddit. I can't remember what it was called, where we were all doing the parallel reality stuff for a while. That was fun. Not really. I was very sad back then, but that's fine.
But what did that have to do with that?
The sadness?
Yeah, I mean, you're always sad, right?
Yeah, but I was really sad. Like abnormally sad.
Oh. Well, now I'm sad.
That's okay. I mean, not really.
Thanks, Chell. Jeez. One well-documented example of shared false memories comes from a 2010 study that examined people familiar with the clock at the Bologna Central Railway Station, which was damaged in the Bologna massacre bombing in August of 1980. In the study, 92% of respondents falsely remembered the clock had remained stopped since the bombing, when in fact, are you better or worse?
Okay.
Oh, don't even worry about it. You falsely remembered us asking Michelle a question. It didn't happen.
Okay. No.
In 92% of respondents in the study, 92% of respondents falsely remembered the clock had remained stopped since the bombing, when in fact the clock was repaired shortly after the attack.
Oh.
Years later, the clock was again stopped and set to the time of the explosion in observance and commemoration of the bombing.
Oh, that's so dumb.
Jeez. You're like, why remember a bombing? Who cares?
No, like, it's a clock. It needs to work.
Oh, man. They're about to bring up one of the harshest examples, though.
Okay.
Of the Mandela effect. By the way, I can't remember. Did you finally see Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No.
Oh. Because I joke, for those who've seen that movie, whenever I talk to Rachel, because she loves rats and she loves Ratatouille, whenever she brings up Ratatouille, I always go, you mean Ratatouille? The raccoon that teaches the guy how to cook. It's my running gag because there's an alternate universe where Ratatouille was the movie and not Ratatouille.
Oh.
Other examples of memories of the respective title component of the Berenstain Bears children book being spelled Berenstain. Also, this is one doesn't apply to me. The logo of clothing brand Fruit of the Loom featuring a cornucopia. I don't remember that, but a lot of people do.
I kind of do, but again, my brain is just like, yeah, you're probably just dumb, Michelle. So.
Oh, this one has I've fallen for. Darth Vader telling Luke Skywalker, "Luke, I am your father," in the climax of The Empire Strikes Back, mm-hmm. when he actually says, "No, I am your father."
Exactly.
In response to Skywalker's assertion that Vader killed his father. Mr. Monopoly wearing a monocle. I do remember Mr. Monopoly wearing a monocle, and he never did.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, I do, but not really, because I'm just stupid. So.
And the existence of this one's I did not remember, but the existence of a 1990s movie titled Shazam, starring comedian Sinbad as a genie.
I kind of remember that.
Snopes suggests it could be a confabulation of real memories, possibly including Sinbad wearing a genie-like costume during a TV marathon of Sinbad the Sailor movies in 1994, and the 1996 film Kazam, featuring a genie played by basketball star Shaquille O'Neal, and the 1960s animated genie-themed series Shazam. I remember the term Shazam being something that magicians said. That's what I remember that word coming from. But I could be mistaken. Likewise, false memories of Mandela's death could be explained as the subject conflating him with Steve Biko, another prominent South African anti-apartheid activist who died in prison in 1977. Memes about the Mandela effect and associated online jokes about a time traveler altering the past, turning the current era into a glitch, became popular in the United States in 2016. That's what you were, I think, referring to. All the glitch in the Matrix stuff.
Oh no, there's another Reddit subreddit that I can't even remember what it was called anymore. They basically ended up taking it down and then making it private. So
that doesn't seem questionable.
That was fun. That was an interesting community. I can't remember what universe we're in, though. Damn
it. It's not suspicious at all that it went private. Nope.
Yeah.
They weren't getting close to something at all. Scientists suggest that these are examples of false memory shaped by similar cognitive factors affecting multiple people and families, such as social and cognitive reinforcement of incorrect memories or false news reports and misleading photographs that influence the formation of memories based on them. I mean, think about like the Berenstain Bears. See, but damn it. That could have come simply from teachers saying Berenstein because that's a more common last name.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So that was my own theory. I wasn't reading that. That's just my own thought, is like that they said Berenstein simply because Berenstain is such an uncommon last name. Why would you say it?
Right.
So there are some theories about false memories that I wanted to dive into real quick. First, there's the fuzzy trace theory. Proposed by Valerie Reyna and Charles Brainerd, suggests that information can be stored in two different ways. Yeah, the verbatim and gist, like we just talked about. Verbatim representations are literal and precise, exact copies of information. On the other hand, gist representations are fuzzy, general, and abstract representations of the information. The fuzzy trace theory relates to false memory because studies have found that when information is stored as gist representations, it's more prone to manipulation. This is because information is stored in parallel pathways. Information is stored in parallel pathways and not together. So that's the theory, is that those two different pathways can store the same information, but will access one over the other. The term verbatim traces applies to storing of surface features of an experience, whereas gist traces apply to the way in which we store the context and interpretation of the event. That makes sense, because I really do believe that saying that the past is a story we tell ourselves, narrative structure helps us remember things.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, that's where most people believe that's what the invention of poetry was. It was just a way to remember information before it could be written down.
Sure. And I believe that. Like, same thing with songs, obviously, which is, same thing as poetry. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could remember songs a lot, although sometimes not entirely accurately, but accurate enough that the purpose of the song still comes across. So another one is called strength hypnothesis. Sorry, strength hypnothesis. The strength hypnothesis states that in strong situations where one course of action is encouraged more than any other course of action due to the objective payoff, people are expected to demonstrate rational behavior, basing their behavior on objective payoff. An example of this is the laws of a country. Most of its citizens, no matter how daring, will conform to these laws because the objective payoff is personal safety.
Okay.
I could see that one. Construction hypothesis. The construction hypothesis says that if a true piece of information being provided can alter a respondent's answer, then so can a false piece of information.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like gaslighting people for fun.
Yeah, exactly.
construction hypothesis has major implications for explanations on the malleability of memory. Upon asking a respondent a question that provides a presupposition, the respondent will provide a recall in accordance with the presupposition. So, yeah. Let's see. Okay, this one's interesting. This is called the skeleton theory.
Oh.
Loftus developed what some refer to as the skeleton theory, having run an experiment involving 150 subjects from the University of Washington. Loftus noticed that when a presupposition was one of false information, it could only be explained by the construction of hypothesis and not the strength hypothesis. Loftus then stated that a theory needed to be created for complex visual experiences where the construction hypothesis plays a significantly more important role than situational strength. She presented a diagram as a skeleton of this theory, which later became referred to as the skeleton theory. It explains the procedure of how a memory is recalled, which is split into two categories: the acquisition processes and the retrieval processes. The acquisition processes are in 3 separate steps. First, upon the original encounter, the observer selects a stimulus to focus on. The information that the observer can focus on compared to all the information occurring in the situation as a whole is actually very limited. In other words, a lot is going on around us and we only pick up on a small portion. That does check out for sure.
Yeah.
This forces the observer to begin by selecting a focal point for focus. Well, and that makes a lot of sense too, because we really can only remember so much. We can really only pull so much information. Our brains love to take shortcuts.
Mm-hmm.
It's why sometimes you'll think you see something out of the corner of your eye before you see it.
Right. That makes sense.
So, we're going to finish up this conversation after a real quick break and a word from our sponsors. We are back, and Chell, you had a thought on what we were just talking about the skeleton theory.
Yeah, I was going to say that I guess the idea that like we don't have all of the information because we can only focus on so many things. I was thinking about that where I'll be watching anime and then I'll realize that since I'm reading subtitles, I'll like misremember what the animation looked like. Because like recently I was like, I'm pretty sure this happened. And then I like went back and I was like, oh, actually, no, that's not it at all. So that's it.
Oh, that reminds me though, I have false memories all the time when I watch things with subtitles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'll remember the dialogue in English, but I never heard it in English.
Yeah, it's really weird.
I've been describing a scene from like an anime or just a foreign film to somebody, and I'll say it in like the voice that the voice style of the character, but in the language they never said it in.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is bizarre because that's how I remember it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's really weird. Now that you mention it, that's super weird. Well, I wanted to look into one more piece of this puzzle. And that is sleep deprivation.
Oh.
Sleep deprivation can also affect the possibility of falsely encoding a memory. And I love this too, because this is telling me, okay, so scientists are about to force people to stay awake against their will. Yes.
Yay.
In two experiments, participants studied DRM lists of words, like we talked about earlier: bed, rest, awake, tired, that are semantically associated with a non-presented word, before a night of either sleep or sleep deprivation. Testing took place the following day. One study showed higher rates of false recognition in sleep-deprived patients compared with the rested participants. Sleep deprivation can increase the risk of developing false memories. Specifically, sleep deprivation increased false memories in a misinformation task when participants in a study were deprived of sleep during the event encoding, but did not have a significant effect on when the deprivation occurred after event encoding. Huh.
That's interesting.
So the sleep deprivation would cause a failure to remember if you were deprived, but not cause a failure of recall. if you were deprived after seeing it.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That makes sense.
So the last part I wanted to touch on was what's called false memory syndrome. It's defined as false memory being a prevalent part of one's life in which it affects the person's mentality and day-to-day life. False memory syndrome differs from false memory in that the syndrome is heavily influential in the orientation of a person's life, while false memory can occur without this significant effect. The syndrome takes effect because the person believes the influential memory to be true. However, its research is controversial, and the syndrome is not included in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders.
That's interesting.
It was the DSM-MD, I think is what they call it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
One of those good ones. Neither of us is a doctor. False memory is an important part of psychological research because of the ties it has to a large number of mental disorders, such as post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
False memory can be declared a syndrome when recall of a false or inaccurate memory takes great effect on a person's life. Such a false memory can completely alter the orientation of one's personality and lifestyle.
That's rough.
Yeah. And there's a few other elements too about how trauma can cause it. It can be triggered by lots of different things, which can cause a lot of struggles for legal cases where people legitimately remember something that did not happen.
Yeah.
I mean, legitimately remember something that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, but that's the long short of false memory. I don't want to dive so deep that I'm reading psycho jargon for another 20 minutes because I don't even know what words mean.
Yeah, me too.
So before we get out of here, Chell, I wanted to talk about some horror media I've been checking out. I did see 2 new horror movies this week.
That's cool.
I'd like to think so. One was in the theater and one was in the theater of my home. I almost said of the mind, which doesn't make any sense. Because it was an audiobook. No. But the first one I saw just the other night, I went out and saw The Watchers, which is Ishana Night Shyamalan's first feature film as director. It's M. Night Shyamalan's daughter.
Cool.
And I really, really liked it.
Good.
I was worried that I might not, but I'm not one of those people that craps all over M. Night Shyamalan. I mean, he did have a lot of missteps for quite a while, but he's been back for like 10 years now. His stuff's been good, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know if you've seen The Visit or Split or Glass or any of those.
No.
He's a Philly boy. You should be watching his movies.
I mean, I was actually just recently watching The Sixth Sense and Signs, because they just happened to be on.
Signs has aged well. People start to like Signs the more time goes on.
Okay. I've always kind of liked Signs, so.
Yeah, well, we were that age too. Like Signs came out and we were like teenagers.
Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed it. Yes, it had like tons of twists and turns. It's basically about, without spoiling much, it's basically about the ancient concept of fairies, the like Irish Celtic fairy myth, which is a lot darker and more intense than you might think. And I just really liked it. I thought it was tense. I thought it was scary, and I thought it was interesting. So I highly recommend going to see it in the theater if you get a chance.
Cool.
The other film I saw was called You'll Never Find Me. And it's on Shudder. It's a Shudder original or a Shudder exclusive, one of those. But it's about this guy who lives in a trailer park in the middle of nowhere who gets greeted by a woman in the middle of the night. And it gets weirder and weirder as it goes. The more they talk to each other, the more confused you get. And the more you're just struggling to figure out what the hell is actually happening. And the payoff is pretty good. I wouldn't say it was great, but it was damn good. I really did enjoy it. It took the simple concept of like 2 people in a room and really built it up in a way that I found very, very exciting. So very, very happy. And I highly recommend You'll Never Find Me. Like I said, it's streaming on Shudder. I'm sure you can probably rent it as well, but it's absolutely, absolutely worth watching. And I highly, highly recommend it. But before we get out of here, Chell, do you have any Reddit creepiness for us to study?
I mean, I can give you like one thing that is kind of weird.
I would love it.
From the like glitch in the Matrix Reddit. There is this person. I'm trying to think of like what happened. So anyway,
it's okay.
There's this girl and she was working at like a store in the mall, right? And she was like 20 or something. And this kid came in, like maybe 15-year-old, and is like, hey, her name, like, how are you doing? And she was like, I have no idea who this kid is, like some little emo kid. And she was just like, what's up? And he was so like, he looked so disappointed that she didn't remember him. And she just kind of always kind of thought of that. And he even said like his name was like Jeremy or something. And then 10 years later, she's working at a camp and they get a new kid whose name is Jeremy and looks exactly like that kid. So who knows that? I don't know. Maybe he would time traveled or something.
Was the kid that she talked to initially, was that a person near her own age or much younger?
Younger. Not that much younger, but he's like age. This. Yeah, he's like the same age now as he was when she saw him 10 years ago.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, because he's like 15 still. So it's kind of like everyone's like, maybe like he accidentally kind of time traveled and he didn't know. And he's seeing you as someone who is like, you know, his counselor, and he doesn't understand why you don't know him.
That one would freak me out pretty bad. But also, that would be a hard memory to really remember like 10 years later.
I mean, and that's the thing, too, with the memory stuff. We don't know if it's the same. Like, she really believes that it's this kid. But, like, who knows, man? He could have totally looked different. It's been a long time. He could have had a different name, you know?
Because if he had been her age, I would have assumed he was just trying to rizz her up. Like, he was just, you know, some guy who was, like, trying to get her to notice him. Because, you know, female and male dichotomy. Yeah. So that one is weird, though. I like, that would creep me out to all of a sudden be like, oh, hello, Jeremy. And he's just some creepy kid. Although it would be better if he'd whispered like, now do you remember me? But,
that would have been.
But I'm not writing this, so.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, Chell, I think it's time for us to say goodbye for yet another month.
Yay.
You're like, I'm free temporarily.
For a little while.
But I do want to remind our listeners, if they haven't supported us on Patreon, it would really be appreciated by heading over to WeeklySpooky.com and clicking on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you get 2 bonus shows every single month. And if you sign up as a Patreon podcast booster, for $15 a month, you can hear your name at the end of our shows. And speaking of, I want to say a special thank you to our Patreon podcast boosters, Johnny Nix, Jenny Green, Brent McCullough, Karen Weemet, Jack Kerr, and Craig Cohen. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. And if you want to join that list of names, just go to weeklyspooky.com and click on Patreon. And if you want to send us an email, just send it to weeklyspooky@gmail.com. We will be happy to read it on the air, especially if it's terrifying or creepy. So, with all that said, I want to say a special thank you to our executive producers, Rob Fields, Mark Shields, and Bobbletopia.com, where you can get a bobblehead for 20% off when you type in code WeeklySpooky at checkout. And, of course, our producer, Dan Wilder, and our composer, Ray Mattis. Chell, you have the last word on the show till we see them next month.
Oh, no. Okay.
That's the one?
That's the one.
Bye, everybody.